Plastic surgeons are having private conversations on the internet. If you just join those communities and listen, you'll see what they're really after. Said this card entitles you to a free consultation, and they'd give them out the free cards. And whenever somebody came in from a Facebook ad, it would multiply. 20 clients. If you got 17 that are either happy or relatively satisfied with your service, and 3 that just fucking hate you and complain all the time and say all the leads are bad. What's up? What's up? What's up? Oh my god, it is exciting to see you guys again for some goodness. We got some Nintendo music in the background, so you know it's a fucking serious ass day here. Couple quick announcements. Announcement number 1, I am almost full on the Wolfpack Mastermind now that I've started kind of promoting it a little bit more. But we do have just a little bit of room. If you'd like that to be you and not be on a waiting list, come join us. I've been working on making the less laptop, more beach thing like a reality for people, where we have entire swipe files and tools and things like that, like that you can plug into your agency to make you money that you have zero to do. And the beautiful thing about this business model is that it's a high-ticket recurring model, so a lot of the things you guys will plug in will pay you for 5 or 10 years without having to do anything. So for most of you guys, you just need 1 or 2 clients to pay for it. If you're in the process where you've already hit at least 5 clients or more, like it's usually at that point, it's a no-brainer. I'm not here to tell you guys what to do, but if you want to check that out, you can go to beyondagencyprofits.com/Wolfpack. Also, one of the people who was booked in for Mexico, and we're going to have an awesome live event here. I've actually been planning some really cool shit, but one of the people I just wanted to mention that is booked in had some passport issues, so if you'd like to come join us and take that last spot, I might just leave it empty, to be honest with you guys, because it's probably a little late and close to the deadline, but if you want to come hang with us, come party. Come party in Mexico. I priced it like so cheap, and you can get like direct flights to Cabo here, most of you guys, for a couple $100. An Airbnb, you can do the whole thing for under $1,000 for some of you guys, depending on if you're in a major U.S. city. So if that's you, come hang with us. We got Rayanne up first in the comments, and first 2 questions are you. So first one says, thinking about a first date. Oh, actually, you know what? I missed the all-important intro. Let's get into the all-important intro. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Finn proudly brings to you our weekly Q&A. I can tell it's early. It's the cough is part of the show. All right, weekly Q&A. Let's try that again. All right. So, Rand's up. She says, thinking about a first date offer from my SMMA based on Beyond the Agency box. To finish my presentation, here's some quick ideas I've had. Wanted to have some quick input if possible. Idea 1 is base fee of $3,200 a month for an agreement of 90 days, but the trial you just cover the setup fee, no contract, no lock-in. Basically reinvest your profit to pay the following month if you decide to continue. Also, we guarantee 10 booked appointments or you don't pay. Idea number 2, we get you 10 pre-qualified appointments for X directly in your calendar within the first 30 days for only $60. Then you can decide whether or not you want to commit. Idea 3, let's try a database reactivation. For the first 10 days, get you a few appointments for free. Number 4, let's try a Google review campaign for first 10 days and get you a few reviews for free. Obviously, the last 2 ideas are easier to say yes to, but I don't know if they'll convert well into subscription. I'm afraid they won't value it as much since it's free. Also, if there's a customer list, it won't work. Or if the customer list is bad, it won't work. Idea number 2 is good middle ground, but I rely too much on their closing rate, and I don't have the experience yet to train them for it. For context, I don't have any case studies for this niche, so no super dramatic demonstrations to help. And the crowd goes, well, cool. I missed that. I was busy reading the message. All right. So there's a couple of things here to unpack, Rayanne. First of all, thing number 1, I should say. I'm going to do these probably out of order and maybe not even necessarily in most importance, but You can always do a dramatic demonstration. One of the easiest things is just to show people you understood their problem. So like Oral, one of the things he found out when he was breaking into the dentist niche is we found dentists said, I spent all this money on like this very expensive website, and at the end of the day, the chair is empty. And what they mean by that is they have a hygienist chair where they have somebody they pay to like service teeth, and if the chair is empty, they're paying that person, and that person's costing them money as opposed to making them money, right? So it's a cash flow loss rather than gain. So we just created a demonstration that showed a picture of a fancy dental website and an arrow next to it, and showed an empty dental hygienist chair and said, does it look like you bought an expensive website and the chair is empty? So that doesn't require having a client to do that, is my point. So there's always a reason you can do a demonstration. The demonstration is not always look at results. The most important part of a demonstration is that you actually show that you understand what your niche is really trying to do. So that is what I wanted to tell you on the second piece, is the ideas you've come up with are not necessarily bad. They're all good ideas. The problem with them is they're very hammer-centric, and they're done as marketers think about them. Now, this is not the complete and total picture, but I find it helps if you can think about an irresistible offer as an irresistible outcome. Like, that's not the total picture, but if you can really just think about, like, what outcome are these people really after? And if you don't know that, I have a video on our YouTube channel called The Unfair Sales Advantage. If you go to YouTube and type in Beyond Agency Profits, Unfair Sales Advantage, and watch that video, it'll show you how to get your market to tell you in their own words exactly what problems they have, exactly what they want in their own words. Because what's missing from this is the outcome part of it, and it's actually the most important one. So like idea 2, you say, we'll get you 10 pre-qualified appointments for X. X is actually the most important part of that entire sentence, not the 10, not the appointments. Like, appointments are something marketers talk about, but in the real world, like, people want particular services and results. So, like, for example, a motorcycle or an injury lawyer wants a motorcycle case or a high-end case. A dentist wants a cosmetic patient. It varies a little bit from market to market, but there's something they want that goes in that X that if you don't know what your market wants, you'll leave out the most important piece, right? Like, there's a huge difference between I'll do SEO for you and I'll do SEO to get you commercial roofing jobs. It's the commercial roofing jobs they want, not the SEO, right? So nobody wakes up in the middle of the night and says, what I need are booked appointments. That's largely a marketer thing that's only in our space. People don't really give a fuck about booked appointments the way everybody seems to give a fuck about in the marketing space. So having said that, like, the missing piece more than anything is you don't know what they're stuck on and you don't know what they want. And if you figure those things out, which you can do just by the way, the secret of the unfair sales advantage is based on a methodology I learned from Jay Abraham. So just so you guys know, Jay Abraham has made, like, I don't know, a lot of fucking money, in the billions with the B. And one of the things that happened with Jay Abraham is he said he gets paid anywhere from $100,000 to a quarter million to write a sales letter, plus royalties. So like $100,000 minimum to start it, plus royalties. And when I asked him how he wrote sales letters, he told me, I go to Amazon and I look at all the 1-star reviews and 5-star reviews on books on that subject, and I realize all the 1-star things they hate are things they're trying to move away from, and all the 5-star things are things they like that they're trying to move towards. And I literally just make a list. They're trying to move away from, trying to move towards, trying to move away from, trying to move towards. And I use that as the basis of my sales letter. The product is going to help you move away from these things and move towards these things. So in the case of, like you mentioned, obviously, I guess reading your comment now, it looks like you're after plastic surgeons and replacing it. But that's the most important thing. And even the difference just between mommy makeover and liposuction will have dramatically different results. So one of the things is to find out what procedures they're after. I found out, like, for example, one of the procedures that a lot of when I was bigger in the plastic surgery industry is there's a procedure called cool sculpting. You buy this machine, and the way the cool sculpting works is the person goes in, they charge about $200 for the session, and the person often comes for like 10, 20, 30 sessions. And why the doctors liked it is because they had, in a lot of their procedures, they have operating costs, meaning they have to rent a room from a hospital, and that can cost them thousands and thousands of dollars just to rent the space. But in the Cool Sculpting machine, they can actually just have like anybody run the machine, and you know, the person sits there for an hour and Cool Sculpts, and they make $200 and they pay the person 20, and so they get to have like 90% margins, and there's multiple procedures. So there's a huge difference between I'll get you booked appointments and I'll get you people booked in for Cool Sculpting, right? So you have to figure out what that detail is, and there's only two ways I've ever found how to do that. One, listen to your market, meaning like go into the conversations they're having already and listen to what they're like saying and complaining about. Like plastic surgeons are having private conversations on the internet. If you just join those communities and listen, you'll see what they're really after. The second thing is you have to directly reach out to them and engage them in conversations and say like, hey, I'm trying to do some research on you guys. Like, what do you want? What do you not want? I can tell you, like, for example, one of the things they don't want is a lot of breast augmentation as a general rule, because surgeons have told me there's so many people doing it, so there's price pressure downward. And they say after the cost of the operating room and the actual breast implants, which cost like $1,000, or at least they did when I did it, they said like they don't make any money. They actually like literally are just doing the procedure for free. So if you can nail down what they're really after, and I would maybe like just play a little bit with Cool Sculpting, just because I know that worked in the past, because they have really high margins on it, and it's a repeat service that the people go back for. Chances are they're probably going to like that. But without those details, all you're really talking about the hammer. I've mentioned this before, but every marketing service is like a hammer. A hammer is used to build things. They are trying to build things in their own business, and they are trying to solve problems with the hammer, right? So if you talk about the hammer, you talk about your thing, and you say it's got nice ergonomic hammer or handle. It's made of super shiny steel. It's high quality. It's got a 30-year guarantee, and all the things they don't care about, right? Like if they're just trying to build a deck, the more you can just say like, yeah, this thing right here will help you build a deck real fast and easy, right? That's what they're after, is the building of the deck so they can have the backyard barbecues, not the hammer. And so if you get away from that and focus on what your market wants as an outcome, just nailing that piece, it'll take you some time and some research and actually having some conversations. But man, it'll make everything easier that comes after. And then, of course, you always want to test it. Like they tell you. So in my case, like I'm doing this in the water damage space in our little 90-day test. And what I'm finding is they said what we really want is Category 3 flood jobs. Now, I've never even heard of a Category 3 flood job before. So the first thing I did is test that to the market. We can help you get Category 3 flood jobs. And lo and behold, it works, because that's what they told us they wanted. So you just got to nail that piece. You make your life a whole lot easier. Question number 2, Rayanne says, quick question for the SMMA peeps. Do you guys offer to book leads as well? I saw people do text and or phone calls and take credit card information to increase show-up rate. Is this a system that works and is scalable? Sounds like a lot of headaches, especially the part where you have to ask for the credit card info through phone. How do you guys increase the show-up rate? I feel like just doing lead gen is too basic of an offer to justify a $3,000 service bill. There's probably like 3 things that I want to break down into this question. Thing number 1 is actually the biggest variable for how much a client will pay you per month is not what your service is. It is not whether you take credit cards or don't. It's not what's included or not included. It's actually the size of the client you do it for. So I see this in the personal injury space. There's people who do this for like single solo lawyers. They'll do SEO, and they'll get maybe like $500 to $1,500 a month for SEO, sometimes $2,000 if the lawyer's feeling like a baller. And that's like a typical range, like $500 to $2,000. If you do this for a 40 or 50 person law firm, it's going to minimum start at $5,000. It's probably going to be 10, and it might even go as high as like 20 or 25. In fact, I've actually seen lawyers get billed $70,000 a month, 70000 per month for SEO in our space, just because of the size of the lawyer. So the biggest variable is not will clients pay $3,000. It's like actually who are the clients. And if you think about it, there's a reason why. A law firm with like 50 or 100 people in there, they have to make payroll. They need their SEO to work. They have like a lot of hungry mouths to feed. If you're dealing with a single solo lawyer, like they don't have that kind of money. So this is true in every niche, is there's a spectrum. And if you aim for the top 5% of your market, they'll pay more. So that's reason number one people will pay $3K, is because it's a bigger problem to solve because payroll gets bigger. Thing number two is, yes, there are ways to make your service more valuable by actually helping them bridge the gap to the sale. I'll tell you, like, I've experienced just adding in like referral stuff makes stuff work better. I really hate, by the way, that whenever I have music on and somebody calls me, like my phone just interrupts. Like, I wish I could turn that setting off, just so you guys know. I don't know how to turn that off. Anyways, so in this particular case, by the way, what I wanted to mention is I lost my train of thought for a second. Hold on, let me just reread the question. Oh, yes, you can help people bridge the gap. You can also help them multiply. Like, one of the things is we created little referral cards that people could give out after a sale, so that, like, whenever they booked in a client, it would turn into two. And it was just said, this card entitles you to a free consultation. And they'd give them out the free cards. And whenever somebody came in from a Facebook ad, it would multiply. So we've had all kinds of ways people doing that. Go high level, live transfers where you have somebody answer the phone for them. I'll tell you what my favorite way of doing this is going forward, and this is so goddamn simple, I wish more people thought of it, which is to take the sales conversation out of their hands. So we've got a couple of people in our Wolfpack world who are doing this, and for example, one of the ways they do that, Chris comes to mind. And what they do is they help car detailers get bookings, and they generally struggle with phone calls and following up with people. So what they did is they created packages and just put them right on the website, and they show before and after pictures and how much stuff costs, so that when people call them, they already know how much it is, and it's an easier phone call for that business to handle. Also, Lana has experimented as well with, like, she was doing this for yoga studios where they would generate a phone call for like a free session. And what happened is the yoga studios would screw it up, and then they would also like upsell them after they came in, and they would screw that up too. And so what they found is it's much better just to let the person book on the calendar right on the website and take the information and pricing and all of that right on the damn website. Like, why do they have to call somebody to come in for a session? Why can't they just book it on the calendar themselves and self-select? So I think this is more the Wolfpack way, and how I want to kind of have people do this going forwards is your clients don't actually need to, like, if I'm interested in coming in for a dental procedure, why do I have to call the front desk to do that? The answer is, I don't know. Like, if I can just book in a time that works for me without having to talk to somebody, I actually think that's better for the end, like, person on there. So the second thing is, if you're worried about clients sucking at closing, just take it out of their hands. Put your salesmanship or your sales prowess or whatever you want to call it right on the website and pre-sell their procedure, including the thing everybody hides behind is how much it costs. Right? It's $40,000. Click here if you're interested. That kind of thing will save them so many headaches. And so I would say, like, if you want to make your service more valuable, focus on selling it right on a damn website and through follow-ups, so that it doesn't even have to talk to your client, because I think that alone will make it more valuable. The more you are correct in your assertion that the idea is there's a value here for leads and there's a value here for sales, and the closer you make your thing about I will bring you sales and the less about I'll bring you opportunities for sales, because a lot of these people, you can give them endless opportunities and they'll still blow them, and the more you can just be like, I'll just bring you sales pre-booked into your thing and you just have to pay me as it works, like, the easier and easier and easier your agency is going to be to scale. Having said that, obviously there can be logistics and challenges in actually doing that, but I want you guys to think about more about, like, how can I just, like, bring people money at a discount, because your stuff will ultimately, like, sell itself and be very, very easy to sell. And I think the easiest way to do that, as I mentioned, is put the whole sales pitch on a damn website, right? Like, the car detailing. Why do they need to call somebody and ask for a quote if, like, 90% of those services are exactly the same? Just put them on a damn website. Let people buy them. So that's my opinion on that. So I hope that's helpful. Nazish says, does anyone know any good course for cold outreach? Finding leads is no problem, because obviously there are a lot of services out there, but my response rate has been 0% so far. I have mentioned the offer, kept it short and sweet. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Nazish, I read a lot of outreach messages. It's the thing I get asked about the most in this whole world. And I'll tell you, I see the way most people do outreach, in my opinion, is they have the wrong idea of what it is. They have the wrong idea of how it works. And they're essentially, the strategy more than anything is broken. So thing number one that will break it faster than anything else is long messages where you talk about yourself. And I see that all the time, where we are a blah, blah, blah. We do blank, blank, blank. If I open up my LinkedIn right now, I got a dozen of these just in the last fucking 5 days. We are blah, blah, blah. Like our service is blah, blah, blah. And so that's the biggest reason, is they don't give a fuck about you. Second reason people fail in outreach is they don't understand what the purpose is of message number one. And the purpose of see, most people don't understand this at all, is high ticket sales begin not with like somebody throwing a credit card at you, but they begin with curiosity of like, that sounds interesting, tell me more about it. So the goal of message one is not to sell your thing. And that's what most people are trying to do, is like, buy my shit, buy my shit, buy my shit. And it comes across as like a guy coming at a bar like, hey, do you want to bang? And then they don't answer and they just go to the next person. You want to bang? You want to bang? And the point of message number one is to open. And openers are usually short, sweet, and about them. So it's like, for me, what I usually do is I focus on giving away an idea and showing up with like, I have something for you. And so I do that in the form of like, and I also say, like I wrote about this in book, I call it naming their baby, but their business has a name. There's like, I get messages from like, hey, we can sell more books. It's a huge difference between we can sell more books and we can sell Frankie your book beyond the agency box. Like, it's a baby. It has a deep attachment to me. This is true of everybody's business, by the way. It's not like just a Frankie Finn thing. So the more you can name like their specific thing, it's like, hey, had an idea for blah, blah, blah to help you sell more blah, blah, blah. Can I tell you about it? That's it. That's all message number one is, like one or two sentences of like, can we talk about it? And like you're asking their permission to even give them a sales pitch, because a lot of times if you don't do that, they're not interested in hearing it. Like a lot of people don't realize like, yeah, if you blast the internet and message bukkake people and just you will get clients, but man, like what kind of clients do you think come out of that? Like, do you think these are like top tier, best of the best kind of clients? Or do you think like as a general rule, they're kind of shit? Like they're just people who are like, for lack of a better term, suckers who like won't stay with you and won't pay you over the long term. I'm not saying there aren't exceptions to that, but like most of these outreach messages are just long blobbity blah blahs all about them and buy my shit. And if you change that to more like, hey, this is about you and I had a cool thing to give you, like, watch the doors open. There's a huge difference between, hi, Frankie Finn, we are so-and-so publishing, and we do blah, 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 and we are here, and we have been blah, 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 and we are this, and call now, or book an appointment, blah, 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 versus like, hey, Frankie, was checking out Beyond the Agency Box, and had an idea for you to sell a couple extra 1,000 books. You interested in hearing about it? Like, that kind of message gets response, even if it's about the same service. So almost always when I see these messages, they're just long blobbity blah blah bloobies about we are blah blah blah, buy our shit. And the whole point of message number one is open. Can you think about real relationships in the real world? Like if you went up to a member of the opposite sex on the street and you were like, hey, these are all the reasons we should jump into bed together and get married because we're awesome, and I'm the greatest ever, and would you like to book an appointment with me so that we can go to the bedroom on Friday at 2 o'clock? You're probably going to have zero fucking success because you wouldn't talk to people like that in the real world. Well, it's no different online. You would probably say something like, hey, you seem like really cool, and then you'd strike up a conversation. Then you'd say, hey, I have an idea for like a first date we could go together because this, like, I would love to take you to a coffee shop on the water where they have this nice, amazing, slice of cheesecake, blueberry cheesecake or whatever. I would love to bring you there because it's a really nice ambience. Would you be down to sit with me for 20 minutes? That kind of thing will open far more doors than just like, we are blah, 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 and we do blank, blank, blank. Please call now, dot, 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 like, which is what most people are doing. You just push people off. So I hope that's helpful to all of you guys doing outreach. Igor says, hey guys, how do you edit video content for your ads? Do you have in-house video editors or do you work with agency and freelancers? I'd love to hear your experience. Feel free to share. Igor, this is just my answer. We have an in-house full-time video editor. But if I was doing this part-time, you could do this between like Fiverr freelancers and AI as well, depending on the depth and amount of video. Like I pump out probably like 3 videos a day, so like I need in-house, but there's lots of ways for you to get video. It depends on what you're trying to do with it. I think where most people miss the mark with video is trying to get it overly produced. If you guys look at like my first, and this becomes an obstacle just to getting videos out in the world, because they think, oh, I gotta have the perfect lighting, the perfect sound system, blah, blah, blah. If you go to Beyond Agency Profits, which I know Cole has done, and look at my YouTube channel and look at the oldest videos, they're shit. They're terrible sound quality, they're terrible lighting, they're terrible everything, but the fucking information is great, just so you guys know. And like I show some of like my highest converting webinars and things like that, and break them down for you guys so you can like use those. Show how we sell cars and things like that without actually having to talk to people, stuff like that. So the reason I tell you guys that is because people like spend way too much time trying to get the visuals right and not enough time trying to get the message right. I find like video 1's going to be the shittiest video you ever make. And it's going to be that way. Just like article number 1 is going to be the shittiest article. Just like Loom video number 1. It's no different than anything else. So like if you're looking to use video, like just get making them and be okay with imperfect action. Josh says, how do you all block off your time so your weekly calendar is set? I want to take brain function concepts into consideration, like certain times a day are better for certain times of work. For me, I want to business building activities, client work, time for learning, time for rest, walk outside. What works for you guys? What are the best times of day to execute? Josh or anybody else who's interested, I actually did a mastermind call on this exact subject. The perfect average workday. How should you divide it up? What should be in there? And I think there's a lot of bad advice in our entrepreneurial space that says like you got to wake up at 4 a.m. and take cold showers and do plunges and meditate and visualize and do journals and all that, which is cool if you're built that way, by the way. But if for those of you guys who are interested in that video, send me a message. It's private, but I will send you a copy of that video, and you can check out how to schedule the perfect average day. But I will give you the short summary of it. I think there's 3 things that have to be in a perfect average, and I'm using Workday. Is thing number 1 is you have to work on your biggest constraint, whatever is the thing that is stopping you from moving forward. Not all things, by the way, will be your biggest constraint, but the things that will propel you forward the fastest will always be there. Your constraint changes over time. In the beginning, your constraint is just you don't have enough sales opportunity and you don't have any acquisition, you don't have any clients, all those kind of things. But eventually your constraint will move to hiring and trying to get good people in the door, and then your constraint will move to management and all of that, and eventually your constraint will move to like systems and processes, and then your constraint will be that we have to now do acquisition at scale, and it'll cycle through those things. But constraints change over time, but nonetheless, the thing to work on every day is your biggest constraint. Second thing, and by the way, when should you do your work? I usually find most entrepreneurs work best either early morning, late at night. And it depends on how you're built. But you'll do your best work early morning, late at night. Very rarely do I meet entrepreneurs that do their best work in the middle of the day. Not saying it never happens, but if you do your best work early or late, then you need to like optimize for how you're built. So thing number 1, work on your biggest constraint. Thing number 2, and I don't think enough people understand this, is not enough people are strategic. And here's how you can tell if you're strategic. If you're thinking 2, 3, 4, 5 moves in advance. If you're just like, let's throw a message out there and see what happens, what Dan Kennedy calls like random acts of marketing or random acts of hiring and things like that, that's not strategic. So like I see people test an outreach message, it doesn't work, they give up. That's a random act. That's not going to move you forward. So I call these TPS, thinking, planning, strategy. And you should actually spend twice as much time thinking, planning, and strategizing as actually doing. If you're going to have like a real successful business that's like energy efficient and leverage, you're going to think twice as much as you're going to do. You're still going to do and you're going to act, but you're going to think. And the best part about the thinking, planning, and strategy is there's no rule that says you got to be like sitting grinding in front of the computer. You can do this on the beach. You can do this in a walk in nature. You can do this in the sunshine. You can do this on a mountaintop. You can do this with a notepad. You can do this on your phone while you're, just out for a stroll, right? So whatever that is that works for you is like TPS, twice as much as doing. And then the third thing is self-care, because you're not going to be any good to other people if you're not in a good centered feeling place. Those are the three things that I think have to be in an average workday. Everything else is like, do it if it suits you, right? But don't take some other entrepreneur's advice just because. But those three things is like, optimize for what's most important, what is your biggest constraint, optimize for thinking, planning, strategy, and be good to you, because you won't be good to other people if you don't make that a priority. So I hope that's helpful to you. If you do that, I'm telling you, you'll make your life a lot easier. And anybody who's interested in that call, send me a message privately and I'll send it to you. I just ask you not to share it because it's like private Wolfpack stuff, but I break down kind of how to do that. John says, and this is not so much a question, but I just wanted to comment on it. I'm at the airport, overheard two young professionals share about their work struggles with bosses, work overload, PTO, etc. So glad I don't have to deal with that and grateful. Amen, John. It has been, other than like travel days, it has been since, I want to say, 2007 or so, since I've actually used an alarm clock. And haven't owned one, and it's amazing not to have an alarm clock, not to have to drive in traffic, to be able to do shit on a Tuesday. Like, we are so fucking blessed in so many ways. Now, having said that, it's not all rainbows and butterflies, and the part of our lives that are harder is exponentially harder. I always say that, like, 90% of our lives are better than, or preferable and more desirable than everyday people, because I don't have to grind in traffic and all those things. But the part where it's harder, it's fucking harder. Like, I was talking to an entrepreneurial friend a few months back, and he told me he was at about $100,000 a month and wanted to scale to $300,000, and so he started investing big in his team and all of that. And what happened is he lost two of his big contracts unexpectedly after he had just invested in his team. And what it meant for him is he had 1 week to make $80,000. Now, he ended up actually doing that and being successful, but he said it was stressful as fuck because he basically had to come up with 80 grand in a week, and that is not super easy and requires massive action and massive movement and all that kind of stuff. And I don't recommend it for those of you guys who are interested in it. But point being, when it's hard, but for the most part, like, our lives, we're super blessed, and I think it's important to recognize that. In fact, I recommend, personally, I keep a gratitude journal, and I try and remember all the little things I'm grateful. We had some car troubles a couple weeks back, and like Ilka was like kind of stressed about it, like, understandable. And I remember just telling her, listing all the things from my gratitude journal. I was like, we got a fridge full of food. Our kids are healthy. We live in a giant house. We're in paradise. We get to do what we want. We have no alarm clock. Like, there's more stuff going right in our lives than wrong. And I think having a gratitude practice is just a good thing in general, because it'll help you connect to that. Paul says, does anyone know of any PLR resources for digital marketing that give you the right to print the book? A lot of them only give you the digital rights. I'd love to write a book for my niche, and I will write, of course, some if I edit through this niche for context, but I'd really like a lot of it to be done. I hear you. There's a difference, by the way, between writing the book. Like, the book for me is like my book. I spent 13, 14 years living this stuff before I decided to write a book and poured my heart and soul into that because I wanted it. I wasn't like, by the way, no, I wasn't trying to like, I'll become a best-selling author. A lot of people have those goals. My goal was just like, if there's one person out there like you that is going through the same kind of stuff I was going through, it would be useful to make this book. So I'll tell you what my process was, and then I'll tell you an easier way to do that. Is I started with the framework. If you have the framework of what you're trying to do, it'll make your life so much easier. So in essence, like, I had like 14, 15 chapters sketched out. How to set expectations, how to get clients, how to build teams, how to build systems, how to manage a thing. Those kind of things will make your life easier. Having said that, ChatGPT, if you can build the framework, ChatGPT can fill in the framework for you. In fact, it could probably do the framework. But I'll give you a framework we've used for a couple of years. I did what's called a speak-a-book process. I would interview lawyers, and then because it's an expertise-driven business, they would answer questions for an hour, and then I would have that interview transcribed and cleaned up and turned into a book. But you actually don't even have to talk to anybody. You could just have ChatGPT. And if you're interested in this, by the way, I'll send any of you guys who are interested in this process, the Speak a Book. We have it all framework, step-by-step laid out. But it's essentially, you start with who it's for. That has to be clear. You start with myths and mistakes, things people believe about your profession that aren't true. So if you're doing SEO, you want to start with things people believe about SEO that aren't true and mistakes people make, because it'll set the foundation. Then you talk about what's possible, and you set, like, build the dream of what SEO can do for a business. Then you start to build into, like, frequently asked questions they ask. So, like, in an injury lawyer, they always ask them, how much money am I going to get? How long does it take? Do I have a case? Do I even need a lawyer? Those questions get asked religiously. So you build in the frequently asked question. And there's a framework for that, is my point. And none of you guys have to figure it out. It sounds like Cole's interested. I'll send that to him. The Speak a Book is super valuable, by the way. You can interview a client for 2 hours. They'll usually pay you anywhere from like $2 to $5 grand to make this book for them. And you just, with AI tools, it's even easier. You just get it transcribed, get the language cleaned up with a human, and you have somebody format it, which you can mostly do on Fiverr for under $50. And that's it. And then you got a book designed, and you can hand it to your client. It's not going to be the greatest book ever written, but it is good enough to demonstrate them as an expert, and people love it. And it's a different service than what everybody else is offering. Like, hey, I think you're awesome, I want to put you in a book, is to me a better pitch than, like, I'm the 12,000th person who can do SEO. And ironically, it leads into SEO a lot of the time. So hope that's helpful. Anybody who's interested in that, let me know, and I'll send you our Speak a Book process, since it's worked really well over the years. I'm not currently using it personally, but it still works really, really well. The only thing I would change is there's probably like a process or two in there that you could make even faster with AI and everything that's changed in the last few months. But otherwise, it's like pretty airtight. Josh says, what's the biggest mistake in your agency that you'll never make again? I think the biggest mistake that I see religiously, and I say this self-included, is the wrong clients in the first place. You'll literally make your life so much harder simply on the basis of they won't pay you, they won't stay, they'll run you ragged, they'll ask for updates, and all of those things. And all of this is a challenge because all of that begins with the wrong clients. So I'll give you 2 secrets I've figured out that'll make your life easier for getting the right clients. And if you just abide by these 2 principles, like you'll get the right clients like 90% of the time. Because I found out, like, if you're just starting an agency and, like, say, like, you got like 20 clients, if you got 17 that are either happy or relatively satisfied with your service, and 3 that just fucking hate you and complain all the time and say all the leads are bad, when you go to sleep at night, your ass is going to be thinking about the 3 that are unhappy, not about the 17 that are. And I found it so much easier just to have clear criteria and not let those 3 people in the first place. So here are the 2 biggest secrets. Universally, do not work with people that are single solo operators across niches. Does that mean every single solo operator is bad? No, but for the most part, they're still trying to get traction in their business, and or they're not trying to grow, and they'll fight you on growth because they're not trying to do it. So we work with people who have teams and have people who answer the phones for them. You'll make your life so much easier. They generally have more money too, and they can actually close the leads and things you bring them. That's thing number 1. Thing number 2 is I'm not shooting you guys the finger. This is thing number 2. Do not work with people that you have to convince to spend money on advertising. Rather, work with people who already are spending money on advertising and show them a better way. So that means before you walk in the door, they should already be spending money. And if they're not, and you have to try and convince them to do that, you're going to have misery and headaches for that. And if you stay by those 2 things, where you work with bigger, more established companies that are actively spending money, I'll tell you, like, you can walk into any niche and be successful, because that's the cheat code right there. Yusuf says, which platform should I choose for home improvement niches for Facebook or AdWords? I've seen both work, Yusuf, so it really depends a little bit on your skill set and which would be easier for you. If you're looking to do like selling pay-per-lead, a lot of people tend to go with Facebook, because even though it's more work to convert those leads, you can get them a lot cheaper, as where AdWords is really good as a monthly SEO retainer, or monthly, not SEO, but a monthly retainer service, because it produces leads and it fucking works, and the phone will ring, and it works almost right away if you got a system that works. But having said that, I mean, it kind of depends a little bit on your goals. But having said that, like, both work. We've got people in the mastermind that are making both work. So what I would suggest is starting with a proven model of something that's working. And the biggest thing that works on Facebook, by the way, is helping them get their $100 bill. So we've got people who like help them get bathroom remodeling jobs, which are, tend to be high value work and things like that, or remodel an entire basement, right? Hey, you're looking for somebody to remodel your entire basement. That's a high value kind of work, right? That somebody's going to really want. But that's basically it, Yusuf, is like, just depends a little bit on what your goals are and what your skill set is. Jin says, for those with the recent real-world experience, how many outreach attempts does it take to set one consultation appointment? On average, with a solid offer, complimentary digital marketing audit, trying to determine the level of daily outreach required to hit my client acquisition goal. Jin, this is a deep, awesome topic, because the reality is, if you think about the way the world has gone in the last 10 or 20 years, do you have more people competing for your attention and more people messaging you and all of that? And the answer, or less? And the answer, of course, is more. We have more ads, more messages, more people bombarding us, more people in our inbox, more fucking billboards when you drive down the highway. Like, there's just more advertisements. And what this means is, regardless of which medium you're using, getting people's attention is harder. And so you have to work harder for it. And so the answer, I say, is start with a minimum of 10. This is why I think it's so much more important to, instead of thinking about how many outreach messages I have to send, is to think about who I'm sending outreach messages to. Like, if you're going after influencers, I'm experiencing this now where I'm sometimes having to send 4, 5, 6 messages to certain influencers in different spaces just to reach them the first time, to get them to reply and say anything at all. 4, 5, 6, 7 times. But once you nail this, you'll open the door, because you'll stop trying to, like, what most, and it's almost the surest way, by the way. Somebody's not seriously interested in having a relationship with you, and they just want your fucking credit card, is if they send you one message and you don't respond, and they never respond ever again. You know that, like, they're not serious, right? If they come back and you say, no, like, really, I really have something for you, and then you don't respond, they're like, no, really, I have something for you, and they're persistent. And the other thing is, it works better if it's omni-channel. So that means instead of just emailing, SMS, LinkedIn, call them, send them something in the mail, but like be pleasantly persistent, like almost annoyingly so, but pleasant in that process, and you'll be amazed. This means, by the way, it is better to send, like, if I had, like, say I had a budget of $1,000. What most people would do, like, one of my things I do is I do a lot of direct mail. So what most people would do with direct mail is they would send 1,000. It costs about $1 a letter, just so you guys know, give or take. They would send one letter to 1,000 different people. But I would actually rather take 100 people that I know have a proven history of buying and send them 10 letters in the mail than to send 1,000 messages one time. Right? If you understand that distinction, you'll be way more pleasantly persistent, and you'll build systems that are kind of pleasantly persistent, because it just works better, right? Like, you can tell somebody's very serious in building a relationship with you if they don't just give up. If they're still messaging you 6 months later, like, you're bound to just fucking pay attention to them. So I hope that's helpful. Mitch says, I'm dealing with a niche that has virtually zero tech skills. I'm focusing primarily on getting their websites up, professional email reviews, so their marketing at least stands a chance of converting. I wanted to utilize high-level SaaS, but I'm wondering if it's going to be more headaches than it's worth. Has anyone entered a technology illiterate niche? How did you go about it? Mitch, so yes, I actually experienced this with lawyers. Just to share a little bit about my experience, is in 2016, I went through a coaching program, and they were teaching people how to sell high-ticket group coaching programs, and I decided I would coach lawyers how to set up webinar systems so that they could run ads and they could go get clients, and they would drive them to these automated webinars that would just explain the legal process, how it worked, answered questions, what to look out for, how to hire a lawyer, all those kind of things. And what I found is I would get a lot of guys who were like 65, 70 years old, could barely even check their email, and I'm trying to get them to set up tech code, tracking code, automated webinars, recording videos, PowerPoint slides, and like you can imagine the number of tech hurdles that were in that. And I eventually realized it just wasn't going to happen, and if we wanted them to be successful, we were just going to have to do it for them. And then what I started to realize, if we were going to do it for them, I was just better off just doing it as an agency and like getting paid to do it for them. And so I took a brief hiatus to go into a coaching program, and it led me back into an agency because they were too old, and I don't want to say stupid because they're not like stupid people, but tech stupid. They were too tech stupid to be able to do what I wanted them to do. So at the end of the day, it was just easier for us to set them up. So yes, if you're in a tech illiterate niche, it will happen, and you will have to set up everything for them. Having said that, there can be reasons to set up their Go High Level SaaS for them if you're willing to do it, because a lot of times it is front-end work that will pay you for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So there may be reasons why you want to do that, but yes, I've done it in tech illiterate niches, and you end up just having to do everything for them. Like even just like, can you send me your Facebook account? Like you gotta be patient because they need 10 minutes to figure out what their fucking damn login is. Shit like that. So I wouldn't recommend trying to do it with a tech illiterate niche, which is what you're alluding to, because you're just going to make your life really, really stressful. Or the other alternative, if I was to go back, is I would find like 2 or 3 people who wanted to help them set it up. And I would say, these are the people for like $100, they'll set it up for you, or $500 or $1,000 or whatever it is. That I might go that option, is give them 2 or 3 names that can then set it up for them and make their life easier if they don't know how to do that. But I hope that's helpful to you. By the way, that looks like all we got for questions. For those of you guys who missed the intro, two announcements I wanted to have. Announcement number 1 is one person had to back out of Mexico just because they weren't able to renew their passport in time. So if you guys are interested in that last spot which suddenly opened up, send me a message. I may just leave it open and not like promote the hell out of it. It's gonna be super cool, like for real, and it's super cheap. And you guys can get direct flights if you're in America in a major U.S. city. You can get a direct flight to Cabo and then like a little short shuttle bus over here. So like you can get here like super quick, super cheap, hang with me for a long weekend and make some money and do some cool shit. So if you're interested in that, shoot me a message. I already kind of posted the details, and because it's the last spot, I'm probably not going to talk too much about it. Just let me know if you want to come, or if you're seriously considering it, because I don't have time to kind of like sell you on it. I'm not going to do that. But if you want the details, I'll send you the details. We got a Google Doc for that. Secondly is, as I mentioned, we are getting very close to full in the Wolfpack, but if you want to join, you can check that out at beyondagencyprofits.com/Wolfpack. And I've been working to like really make this what I call producer mojo. On my vision board in red right behind me is something, it says producer mojo. This is inspired by a mentor of mine, Travis Sago. And the idea of a producer is a movie producer gets paid to bring in resources but actually does nothing. They have a vision and they bring in resources, and that's all they do. They don't act in a movie, they hire actors. They don't direct the movie, they hire directors. They don't write the movie, they bring in writers. They don't fund the movie, they bring in the movie studio to fund it. They don't promote the movie, they bring in marketing companies that do that. So for the most part, like, they don't fucking do anything except bring the resources together, and that's how they get paid. So they have a vision and they bring in resources. And what I've been focused on the last 2-3 months is making the Wolfpack like that, making it so that you guys have all the resources you need that you can give and contribute to clients and add value and contribute things to them, but actually require nothing at all for you to do. So we've got lots of like white label additional services you can add, upsells, software and tools you can set up for clients, and just things like that make your life super fucking easy and are almost nothing at all for you to do. Because that's where I want to head this to people, is more producer mojo, sitting on your ass making money. And I don't mean being lazy, because a producer's not lazy. A producer, like, again, has a vision and brings in resources. So you're contributing the most value by actually doing nothing except bringing in the resources. And so, like, creating a shared resource library where you guys can bring in resources for your clients and for people and have nothing to actually do. So if you guys are interested in that, again, you can go to beyondagencyprofits.com/Wolfpack. Or if you're interested in Mexico, shoot me a message or drop a comment, and I will send you the Google Doc about that for that last spot. Otherwise, that's all I got for you guys. Much love to you guys. May the force be with you. Happy Monday. Hope you guys are rocking it at life, and we'll talk soon. Hey guys, if you like this video, you'll also like my book on Amazon called Beyond the Agency Box, which you can also find by my name, Frankie Finn, and it's got a lot of awesome reviews. And it really just goes deeper on a lot of things we're talking about, everything you need to grow and start a lifestyle agency, from the stages you'll go through to getting clients, to how to create winning offers, to high value deliverables, to wowing clients, to building teams, to building systems, and building a boring factory that's like a 7-figure money machine for you. So if you're interested, I put links for you in the video description, as well as it'll be in the pinned top comment below, and make sure to check those out.